Hello folks, my name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. How you guys doing? So just a quick video I'm making with my phone here. The Democrats have finally grown a sack and have started a formal inquiry into the impeachment of Donald Trump. And all I could say is that it's about goddamn time. They should have done this a year and a half ago, in my opinion. Even before the Mueller report came out, right? They had plenty of evidence, and now I guess this whole thing with the Ukraine is just one step too far. And apparently, Nancy Pelosi and the higher echelon of the DNC didn't want to go this route because they thought it would backfire, right? But it's just sort of like they kind of have to now because this latest thing with the Ukraine president and all that is just so blatant that if they don't do it this time, it's kind of like they don't have a choice. And I'm actually happy to see it happening. I'm glad to see that there's finally some kind of accountability for this president. Right. So what exactly is he being accused of, right? So, because you see a lot of stuff in the news now, especially now that it's just sort of like there's stories coming every 5 seconds. It's really easy to get confused about what's actually happening. And please keep in mind that the Trump team is trying to do that on purpose. They want to confuse people so that when it actually comes down to it, nobody really knows what they're talking about. So you got to be really careful about misleading news and talking points and stuff like that in the news. So what's really happening? Well, apparently in July of this year, Donald Trump had several conversations with the president of the Ukraine, and we are giving the Ukraine military aid in order to fight off Russian-backed separatists, right? The whole Russian went in and annexed Crimea and all that, and they're trying to destabilize the Ukraine because eventually they want to take the entire country over, right? So anyway, he basically withheld military aid from the Ukraine about a week or so before this conversation. Now, keep in mind, this is military aid which was passed by Congress and signed into law, so it's a law that he has to give them this. He has to give them this military aid. He doesn't have a choice, right? President's not supposed to be able to just unilaterally just withhold funds like that, especially when it's gone through Congress and been approved and all that shit. And he had a conversation with the president of the Ukraine, and in that conversation, he alluded to the fact that he wanted them to investigate Joe Biden's son before he would give them this military aid, right? Then after the conversation, he releases the money and then also adds an extra, I think, $145 million on top of it, which is, you're hearing quid pro quo in the news, stuff like that. And the thing is that deals like this happen all the time. What makes it illegal is that he's doing it for his own political career, to further his own political agenda and not for the good of the country. If he were to do something like this to get concessions for the United States, in other ways, that would not be illegal. But the fact that he's doing it in order to get dirt on his political opponent, highly illegal, and it's actually very close to what he was accused of doing with the Russians. The entire Mueller report, that's what that was all about. Colluding with a foreign power in order to get dirt on a political opponent. That shit is illegal, right? And it's kind of like, he got away with it last time, so he might as well just do it again. Please keep in mind also, this was right around the same time that Joe Biden announced for his candidacy to run for president, right? So, imagine what's going on with the Trump team. They see, here goes a guy that might actually beat us, Biden has been polling far above Trump in pretty much every poll ever. I think as of today, he's something like 16 points ahead of Trump, right? So it's like, okay, this guy's going to stomp us flat. we got to dig up some dirt on his ass. So, what exactly is Joe Biden's son being accused of? Exactly. Well, he sits on the board of directors of the largest private gas company in the Ukraine and gets paid around $600,000 a year, right? What you hear in the news, $50,000 a month is what Trump said, right? Sounds like a lot, right? But that's really not that much when it comes to a board member of a corporation. 600 grand, that's not really that much at all, and especially when it comes, when you think about what CEOs make, what higher level executives make. No, if it was $600 million, that'd be a different story. But anyway, but still, it's a shitload of money. And and for the record, the Obama administration wanted this company investigated as well, because the president of that company fled the country when the president of the Ukraine was ousted, right? And he was very close to him, and so they wanted to investigate them also. Okay, now that's all good and well and everything, but there are ways to go about that. See, that's the thing. If that's a crime, if there are crimes committed there, then they were committed in the Ukraine. And even though some American laws might have been broken as well, you got to think of it like, well, that's kind of something the Ukraine needs to handle, right? And, do you really think that Donald Trump gives a shit about corruption in another country? No, not really. What if it was some other random American and not Joe Biden's son? Do you really think he'd be asking this? Of course he fucking wouldn't. Okay. So yeah, let's just not pussyfoot around here. Let's not beat around the bush. He's definitely asking, right, to get dirt on his political opponent in order to smear Joe Biden. I mean, please keep in mind that there is no evidence at all of wrongdoing. The Trump team has not brought forward any evidence of wrongdoing. There hasn't been. All it is an accusation. Well, people accuse other people of doing shit all the time, and already you're starting to see the conservatives and the political talking heads and shit trying to turn this around and make this a scandal about Joe Biden when it's totally fucking not. So, but here's the thing. That being said, right, we here on the left, and I think I speak for a lot of people who are Democrats and progressives and all that stuff. We would like you to investigate Joe Biden. Please do it. We want you to do it. Do it, please. I'm begging you to do it, right? See, because conservatives and shit, right, and Republicans, they kind of tend to think of this in ways of what helps us and what damages our opponents, right? They don't really have that kind of integrity, to investigate their own people. But I think, we do, right? We on the left, Democrats, progressives, we want to know the actual truth. We would like to know, does Joe Biden have this kind of dirt in his background? Did he actually break any laws here? Right. Please tell us, because we don't have any loyalty to Joe Biden, right? There doesn't that type of cult of personality that you see around Trump, that doesn't exist around any progressive candidate, not even Bernie Sanders. Look at Bernie Sanders, look at his poll numbers. They're not even anywhere close to where they were last time, right? Because he doesn't have that, because we don't worship people. Okay, I mean, the closest you could ever come to that was maybe there was a little bit of that around Obama back in the day, right? But right now, no, there's none. Not around any of the candidates. Not Elizabeth Warren, not Bernie Sanders, especially not Joe Biden. And if it comes out that he's a crook, or a thief, or slimy, and he's been pulling strings for his son in order to enrich his son, we'll dump his ass in a nanosecond. Okay, so please investigate him, but please remember also that this is not about Joe Biden. This is about Donald Trump, the president of the United States, using his power, right, taxpayer money, and his power of his office in order to further his own, political career, which is fucking illegal in every way that you can imagine, Right. And you're already starting to see, they're already starting to muddy the waters. In fact, something that happened yesterday is that the Trump team accidentally sent their talking points for this to the Democrats and reporters, which is like, yeah, okay, that kind of shows you, all the shit they got on the shelf. They hire the best people. They can't even keep their fucking emails together. Right. And look through those talking points. They're gonna blame the deep state. They're gonna blame fake news. They're gonna try to turn it on Joe. Try to turn around on Joe Biden, and then when all else fails, they're gonna say that yeah, Trump did it, but it wasn't illegal. That's exactly what's gonna happen, and you can't let them get away with this shit. That's what they did last time. Right, with the Mueller report. That's what they did. That same process, well, it's not even illegal anyway. Right. It's not a big deal, and even if he did it, you can't throw the president in. The president is allowed to do it because he's the president. Fuck that. Okay. Now it's the time, and even if this does end up hurting the Democrats politically, even if they do fuck it up and Donald Trump gets reelected, which there's a pretty high chance that that is exactly what might happen. It might be, it's worth it because this is what is supposed to fucking happen, right? This is what the law says is supposed to happen. And if we don't, if we're not a nation of laws, right, then what the fuck are we? We might as well just give up and start, giving Trump the fucking Hitler salute every time he walks by. We might as well just surrender to fucking fascism if we're not gonna at least attempt to hold people accountable for when they blatantly break the fucking law. Anyway, I don't know, man. It's all fucked up. Everyone's insane. That's all I got. Adios.